is up, everyone, and welcome back to Nothing But Professional. This is the live stream. I'm your host, Jacob Terrell, which is on every single Wednesday and Friday at 12:30 Mountain Standard Time or Arizona time. It kind of changes with the time zones. Right now, today, we have a really special guest. He doesn't need any introduction. He's been on here for a while. Please welcome Cameron Richardson.
What up? Glad to be back on.
Glad to be back on, my man. How you doing, brother?
Just surviving.
Just
We got
surviving.
sports coming back. This goatee's finally coming off. It's exciting time this weekend. I am very hyped for it.
Very high. Oh, without a question. So jumping into our very first topic of kind of the day, we are going to be reacting to the episode 5 and 6 of The Last Dance, kind of where we showed a lot of who Jordan was and kind of the dark sides of Jordan, a little bit of the gambling issue that a lot of people saw as a bad thing. Personally, I'm not on that side. We also have a little bit into the more in-depth of really what happened with Isiah Thomas on that 92 Dream Team. All that's different situation. Cameron, what is your reaction to kind of all of that, and what can you say about it so far?
Well, like he said, he didn't have a gambling problem. He had a competition problem. I think, when you get sort of settled into the NBA and then you start winning a whole lot, and gets in a way it starts to get boring. And when you win 4 or 5 championships in a short amount of time, that you start venturing into other things that you can compete for and get a even more of a high when you win. And being a millionaire, you can pretty much gamble as much as you want. While he might have gambled more than he should have, I really think it was just to make Jordan try to villainize him in a way, because in a way that he really couldn't, try to make up a fantasy story pretty much just to give him a bad look because he was on such a high pedestal as an athlete.
I would agree with you. I don't think it was really a gambling problem. It was that competition problem. He wasn't betting just to bet. He was betting on himself to win. So in type of situations, like if he was playing craps, which is a game you roll dice, he was betting more when he was the one rolling the dice, which is super important. He realized that he's consistently betting on himself. He's risking everything based off of his own actions, which I don't. At the end of the day, it's not really as big of a deal as people made it back then. I think I agree with you. It was just one of those things people use to, when you were as big as he was, a big of name as he was, to find something to bring him down. Once you build him up, it's as harsh to go down. And there wasn't anything else he really did other than maybe the controversy with some of his teammates about arguing with them, screaming at them, being harsh with them, which is just kind of what a team leader does nowadays, and especially with a guy with that type of mentality. So in general, the gambling wasn't really a big issue with me. I didn't find it changed his image as much as people might have thought it was. And just because he lost game 2, he still won the series. So we know now that it really did not make that much of a difference. But back then, during when they went 0-2 against the Knicks, that was a big situation. And I think in general, this is not something that could really hinder him because he's a competition. Even Will Smith, an old-time friend who's done a few interviews that I've watched, have said that he competes at everything. He'll bet $100 on who can drink their water faster. So it's not really a gambling problem. I think it's more of just he wants to be the best and he wants to prove to you he's the best. And that's just kind of the situation. But jumping over to the Dream Team, finding out for me, a big surprise was that Michael Jordan was not the sole reason Isiah Thomas was not on that Dream Team. It actually was a lot of the reason for the rest of the team, such as Magic Johnson, Scottie Pippen, Patrick Ewing, the guys Isiah Thomas really got in. In your opinion, do you think Isiah should have made the Dream Team even with the controversy, or do you think it would have made it worse?
I think he still should have made it because at the end of the day, they're all competing for their country. They're not competing against each other. While they're competing for sort of the alpha of who's the best player in the NBA, you're doing it for the sole reason of winning for your country. And I think they just left off Isiah because he was sort of living rent free in their heads from the years that Detroit was beating up on all of them. And then you have the Bulls getting a little bit frustrated that they didn't shake hands after they beat them in the Eastern Conference Finals. That sort of, left a bad taste in all their mouths, and they all colluded pretty much against Isiah and said, no, let's not bring him on. But what I think doesn't need to be discussed really, because when you look at the roster that already had two two dominant Hall of Fame centers in David Robinson and Patrick Ewing, I don't have a problem with Leitner being selected over Shaq because it was just another position on the team. I don't think they needed to carry three centers on that dream team.
Mm-hmm. And I'd agree. Shaq wasn't really as necessary, and I think Christian Laettner had kind of a cool backstory. If I don't know if a lot of you have seen it, but the documentary, I Still Hate Christian Laettner. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Exactly, and it's just kind of one of those guys who just gave a good story. He wasn't important to the team. No one, when they introduced the team, some people don't even remember he was really on it. The big three names were Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and you also had Michael Jordan, one, of course, who was the leader of the team. But I thought what was super interesting was the practice when it was the 5-on-5, and what was it? Magic Johnson and Charles Barkley were on one side facing against Michael Jordan. They were up by a lot, and they ticked him off by kept talking trash, and he's like, then Michael Jordan's team came back, they get on the bus, they come home, and Charles Barkley and Magic Johnson looked at each other and said, you probably shouldn't have pissed the man off, and that was kind of the situation. So I think it really showed the dominance of, in all of this documentary, it's showing people consistently trying to make Michael mad and him proving them wrong and why he is still the greatest. I thought this was a really big hit and really big good thing towards his legacy, showing that no matter who it was talking the trash, he was going to show up in those type of situations.
Mm-hmm.
And jumping over to a huge topic that has also been kind of not kind of connected, but not really, in my personal opinion, is that LeBron James is taking a lot of hits due to this documentary. A lot of people are taking shots at him, and I think it's because a lot of people think they are now witnessing Jordan, especially that younger generation who fell in love with LeBron. In your opinion, is this hurting his legacy? If so, why? And if not, there you are.
It shouldn't affect LeBron's individual legacy because that isn't debatable. I mean, yeah, we can always debate Jordan versus LeBron. That's always going to exist. But if you're going to base that off of a documentary when you're not actually watching his live play, yes, you see highlights here and there, but you can't just base your argument off of, oh, look, I watched the Jordan documentary, he did this, and people are telling this story. No, you can't do that. Individual legacy, no, but I mean, people are gonna end up, when it comes to debating those two, they're gonna turn to this documentary, which I think is just stupid.
Which in personal experience too, watching LeBron growing up, I feel like as the years have gone by and as LeBron has gotten to more closer as the years have gone by to that GOAT status, threatening Jordan's, I believe a lot of the things about LeBron are coming out that are like, people are pointing out every little thing they can do, and a lot of the things about Jordan were forgotten. A lot of those small mistakes, the little inconsistencies he did have, and in general, in my personal opinion, when you are in the spotlight consistently and still playing at a high level and threatening one of the greatest or considered the greatest, I think people are going to take a lot of shots at you, and especially when a documentary comes out that is solely based off Michael Jordan and his greatness. It's kind of hard not to take shots, but I see why people do it, but you shouldn't, just because at the end of the day, LeBron, this isn't about LeBron. Michael Jordan didn't make this documentary. He wanted people recording it back then. He didn't know who LeBron was or what he was going to be. This was in 98. LeBron wasn't even, I believe he would be a freshman. No, he would be in 8th grade at that time. So he didn't take this and thinking, oh, I'm going to show this 8th grader who's going to grow up and be known as the greatest. Who's boss? Like, that's not what this documentary is about, and people should stop looking at LeBron from this documentary and judging him. LeBron's legacy is his own. He has his own stats, his own accolades, his own accomplishments, his own failures. So does Jordan. So does Larry Bird. So does Magic Johnson. But you're not taking any shots at any of them because of this documentary. You're not taking any shots at Kobe because of this documentary. Everyone is just threatened by the fact that LeBron is considered or has had the argument of becoming better than Jordan, which is still to this day a bar conversation that you guys have over a couple of drinks, which at the end of the day, no one is going to, personally in my experience of arguing with you, arguing with Sean, David, the entire sports crew about, because I think LeBron's better. Yes, I said it. I think it's, at the end of the day, it's going to be really hard to change someone's mind in this situation. So you shouldn't use this as an argument. It's just not fair to LeBron. Just because, like, if LeBron brought a legacy and there's Zion in 18 years, no one's going to be like, well, LeBron, like, no one's going to take shots at Zion because of this documentary that LeBron took. But that's kind of what I have to say to that. Would you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to use this documentary to state that, oh, LeBron looks a lot worse now. No, that's so bad to just do, because a lot of it's just anecdotal. It's not really, you got to watch game to game and compare really just the playing styles of both to then determine. The documentary's not going to do that.
Agreed. Jumping over to another topic, we have Korean baseball. On my topics, I actually have UFC Korean baseball. We're gonna take off the UFC, that is below. But Korean baseball, they had some games today. Is this really a safe idea? I thought it was kind of funny. I watched the Pat McAfee show, which is a podcast from an old punter who played for the Indianapolis Colts. They showed photos of the game. They had like banners in the stands with like people drawn on them as of fake fans. Some of the guys were wearing masks. There's bat flipping, which is something that is super controversial in America, but it is very well liked in Korea, I'm assuming. So, is your opinion, is this kind of the closer move of showing people that like maybe MLB could come back in the type of situation? Or what do you say to kind of the reaction of the Korea starting to play live sports again?
Well, Korea actually you know, got their stuff together when it came to handling this virus. You know, people following orders, and they were able to get at least sports back to a point where they could play. Yes, it's still without fans, but fans are going to be able to return there a lot sooner than we will have here. But I don't think it's gonna push MLB to start. It's gonna want them to push it, like it's gonna want to make them start, but I don't think it's gonna make them start any earlier than they want. I've heard June spring training for 3 weeks and then start the regular season in July. But I've also heard that that's not going to happen at all. So everything is just still up in the air here. While Korea is just like, hey, we're going to resume sports now because we actually followed protocols when it came to dealing with this virus, and we still are not.
And the thing is people still are not following the instructions. Like I know in Arizona, I believe I was talking to my mother, and she was telling me how barbers in Arizona are coming back I believe it was this Friday, next Friday, or some point very soon, which I am very, very excited about because my hair looks like a mop, and I do not like having my hair long, and I'm not going to just shave it off because I don't like my hair looking, I want my hair to look a certain way, so that's why you've seen me with a lot of hats, is because it just does not look great right now. But in the situation is maybe we are moving to a state where like restaurants might start opening up and sports are going to start coming back slowly and surely. So my question for you is, like Korea, would you rather have sports right now without fans, but the promise soon of fans coming? Would you rather have them start a little earlier with no fans, or would you rather just completely wait to have fans back in that type of situation?
If it was financially feasible, I would say just do it. Just wait until fans can come back, because there's just an element of having, tens of thousands of people at a sporting event that just brings sports to a whole nother level. And it's a level that not only viewers need, but I think the players need them as well, just to give them some type of energy. Because, I mean, I know it's not the same, but I've played, basketball games with a large crowd and with empty, high school arena size, with full crowds and empty crowds. And it's a totally different experience both ways. So I think once fans get back in, I think sports can only really be played at a full capacity, in my opinion. Especially the NBA, NHL. You can't have playoffs without fans. That I think is where we could see a real problem.
I would agree. I think it's just the type of situation where you can't really not have them come back. I don't know. But to be honest, I never thought I'd be turning on my TV, scrolling down to the sports segment, and watching Korean baseball. It's the only sports live right now, so I mean, I'm gonna watch it because I enjoy watching sports. It's what I do. It's what we do as sports fans, and it's finally something we get to watch. I'll be honest, I don't really know anything at all about Korean baseball. But, this might give me an opportunity to learn a little bit, do some research. Because I can tell you, before the pandemic, I was not watching Korean baseball on a regular basis. I don't think a lot of us were. But what do you think about the situation of maybe bringing the teams to Phoenix? Would this be a better or worse idea if you could find a singular spot, if they are allowing fans? And maybe like situational, like sell every ticket, but have them spread out more. So like don't have seats sold. And then have that type of aspect. Would that be a good idea for you? Do you think it could work? Would that at least give it a spectrum to bring sports back a little earlier if we could do something like that?
Yeah, it would. social distancing fans, I think we should be done anyways, regardless of. The only problem with that is if you're going to have social distancing between fans, is that there has to be designated times for when they can come into the stadium beforehand, because you're not just going to have, thousands of people all boggled up all with each other. They could throw a blanket over pretty much. I mean, that's not following social distancing orders. So really, if you're gonna social distance fans at sporting events, there's gotta be a whole type of procedure that comes with that, and it's gonna be very, very tedious.
Makes sense. Jumping over to our next topic, we got NASCAR, which is returning on Sunday, May 17th at the Darlington Raceway. With a NASCAR Cup Series race that will serve as the first of 7 races over an 11-day span at 2 different racetracks throughout May of the sanctioning body announced Thursday. This was a quote from an internet I wanted to get online just because I wanted to make sure I got every single facts right about it, and just to make sure like I wasn't missing anything. So what do you say? Who should we be looking forward to? Because this is the first American sport, I believe, coming back. The quickest, right? UFC's first. Okay, so UFC's first. So we're going to jump. This is going to be the second one. But this is, personally for me, for a social distancing aspect, I see it as they're in cars. It's not like they're really close to each other. I could see that. And in reality, the fans, like, when it comes to home field advantage, I don't feel like there really is one in a NASCAR. Maybe they like a certain track more, maybe they like the state a little more, but it's not like they can even hear the fans most of the time with those cars just revving. So is this a situation where like fans wouldn't be really that much of an impact, and that it is okay for you, who I believe that wants fans always there? Is this something that you would willingly like accept without fans, is basically what I'm trying to say.
When it's actually on track, when the action's going on, yeah, I don't think motorsports really needs fans, because the drivers aren't going to be able to hear that, unlike a basketball or hockey player where they're not, driving with engines that are incredibly loud. But there's another aspect to it that you don't really see on TV when it comes to just the infield experience and having fans interact with drivers and being in the garages. I think that's going to be missed for a while. It's going to be missed a lot. And yeah, I mean, it's really taken a toll. And it's not going to take a toll on the company of NASCAR, but man, the teams, the shops where they got to put the cars together, they've really suffered during this time, and they needed to start this before a lot of teams really started folding.
And going into this race, who are some of your top prospects that you really are excited to see? Who are the guys that you think are going to win it? Who are the top guys that we should be watching?
Man, Darlington's always a wild card, because it's meant to run like a normal 1.5 mile speedway, but it hasn't been repaved in a while, so there's that, and the turns are really, really tight. So it's really who's gonna have the most patience, because it's a long race, and now they're doing 2, so it's really gonna come down to who's really been practicing and staying in shape over, because iRacing, I know they can't run they can't run simulations at these tracks, but as long as they're at least staying in shape, I think that's the most important part, because this track does take a toll on them from a physical standpoint. But driver wise, I mean, it's cool. I'll say this: it's cool to see a guy like Matt Kenseth come back, because he was retired since 2017. But now, thanks to Kyle Larson's mistake, he's now running the 42 for the rest of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Picks for this, man. I mean, Eric Jones, who's a driver of the 20 car, won the last Darlington race, which was last September. He could be seen as a favorite, but they're doing a day race too, which they haven't done at Darlington in the Cup Series in a long, long time. So I think just a lot of variables. That's really hard to make a specific pick for this race, because we haven't seen a lot of the momentum's really been lost, because we haven't had a race in 2 months. So it's really going to be, I think that first race is going to be a wild card to really see where everyone's at right now.
I would agree with you. And jumping over to our last topic, we have UFC, which returns first this weekend, actually. It's an interim fight. It's Tony Ferguson and Justin. Pronounce it one more time for me.
Justin Gaethje.
Thank you. It's just a really hard name for me to pronounce. Ferguson quoted saying, "Seriously, I'm going to be real. This is awesome," Ferguson said. "You can hear this in both our voices. There's no blank with this. They have wars going on and everything else. They had the Olympics going on. Right now, there's no Olympics. There's no Wimbledon. There's no NBA draft. There's no NFL draft. There's no blank tennis. There's no soccer, hockey. There's no baseball. This is what we bring to the table, man. We're going to do our best, and we're going to keep sports alive, and that's what we're going to do. Which he might be a little bit wrong on his facts because there was an NFL draft. There's planned to be an NBA draft. So those ones I will say are a little bit wrong with him. But he's excited. You can sense that he's ready to get out there, give the fans something to watch. And personally, I'm very excited. I actually enjoy watching UFC. I'm not as into it as most of the people that are massive UFC fans, but I really do enjoy watching it on occasion, and it's something that is super interesting to me. I'm excited just to have some sports back, especially ones that don't just involve like just car racing, but we also have a whole different sport where it's going to be more contact, more fighting, which is a whole different type of sport. And so you're going to get two of the best worlds on this. We're still missing hockey, basketball, tennis, baseball, and all those as well. But I think those will slowly follow. So right now we're at the stage where we get to see some sports. And this is going to be the first American sport that's going to be back. Ferguson clearly is excited about this. What do you continue to say about these guys' matchup? The excitement, how do you feel that it's finally coming back? And who do you think is going to take it for you?
This is high stakes, honestly, because everybody's been wanting to see for years now Habib Nurmagomedov, who's the current lightweight champion, fight Tony Ferguson. UFC's tried scheduling this fight 5 times now, and all 5 have been canceled. And what Tony Ferguson brings to the game, he's all over the place. The guy's crazy. I mean, 2 weeks ago he made weight when the card wasn't happening. Like he cut weight just to make a point. The guy's an absolute nut. But what he brings in the octagon is just total. He brings ruthless violence. He's got nasty elbows. His stand up is crazy. His ground game off of his back, his jiu-jitsu game off his back is wicked insane. Which I think could play into Gaethje's favor because Gaethje not only he's just a stand and bang guy. He just wants to throw down, but he's got a wrestling background which he really hasn't utilized at all because everybody's been wanting to stand and trade with him as well. So it's really going to be a high volume, high output fight. I think it's really worth tuning into. But man, everybody wants to see Habib and Tony, so this is really a big fight for business for the UFC. If Tony loses this fight, I mean, it's gonna make a lot of people upset.
So in this type of situation with Ferguson, who is kind of that nutty personality, the guy's a little bit psycho. But personally, when you watch, for me, like when I watch a lot of these guys, I feel like you have to kind of be a little bit psycho to be able to do this at a high level. Like McGregor wasn't like sane, I would say completely. I would say a lot of those guys that do this kind of stuff are a little bit psychotic. It's like that same sense of like NFL safeties like Brian Dawkins and Ed Reed, those guys who had that kind of bit of a craziness to them. And so jumping into fights like this, especially with Ferguson, who is that kind of like that little bit of psychotic, who has held a very well record in UFC, it's going to be interesting to see these two match off of it. I'm going to take Ferguson. I'm going to stay with the guy who has a great track record in these type of situations. What do you say? You're going to take Ferguson in this one, or is there maybe going to be a surprise with us?
I really am leaning towards Gaethje here because there's just so many. Ferguson's just been caught in those moments where Tony's really underestimated some guys. Like a couple years ago, there was this guy by the name of Lando Veneta who it was his first UFC fight, and he was a replacement and fought Tony, nearly knocked out Ferguson, but somehow Ferguson's craziness. I don't know how he stayed up. Was able to finish. He was able to beat, not only just beat him in the decision, but actually submitted him. But Gaethje is just a whole nother level of striker, and if Tony gets caught and gets rocked, I think it might be lights off for Tony. I think I'm taking Gaethje, but it's gonna be I think it's gonna be really fun, a really highly entertaining fight.
But going in with that, wouldn't Ferguson know Gaethje was a little bit better and wouldn't probably underestimate him as much as he maybe did that other guy?
Probably, but I mean, it's all really a guess at this point. And Ferguson has not fought since last June, so that maybe a little bit of octagon rust there as well. But it's really it's really gonna be there's just so many variables in this fight that I think it's gonna be an absolute nuts fight. I think both guys are gonna hurt each other. I think it's just gonna be one of those they just really stand up and just applaud from your couch, especially with sports being back now. I think they're really gonna put on a show. I really do believe that.
That's exciting. Well, that is all we have for you today. Cameron, I wanted to take a little bit of time. You didn't know I was going to do this, but you are starting your YouTube channel, and I know you're really excited about it. Just if you want to talk about that for just a sec, tell us what you'll be doing, what and why they should come watch you. I think you're super excited about. I'm super excited to watch. And what can we be expecting from your new YouTube channel as well?
Yeah, so hopefully beginning next week, I'm going to start putting out some videos with a couple of guys you've had on this show, Sean
Mm-hmm.
Clark, Johnny Crane, David Church. And we're just going to try to come with talk about some events that occurred and try to come up with some fun, unique segments as well. I think I'll also do some music reviews as well, some track reviews, some individual ones while still writing as well. So I'll have a written piece, but also a YouTube video as well, a shorter version. But in case you like a written version better, you can go on the website as well. So I'm going to try to balance out. I won't have anything going on, so I'm going to be able to balance out YouTube and my site as well. So a lot of hard work going to be put in this summer, but hopefully it's going to pay off and a lot of people will tune in.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Remember, guys, thank you so much, Cameron, first off, for joining us. Remember, you can hit that subscribe button and click that notification bell. That is to catch every single one of my live streams and our new video coming out this Saturday. Also, remember to follow me on social media. That is going to be the best way to keep in touch with some different updates about what I am doing with Nothing But Professional. Links are below, and the usernames are also right below here. So I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you so much. I hope you have a safe rest of your day. Cameron, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Awesome. You guys have a great rest of your day.